Hello guys, I'm going to show you now how to set up a fast food restaurant, and for this purpose we'll create a new database. We'll call it fast food 1 for example, and we'll make it a blank database. Then we're going to see the database assistant. We'll choose a retail shop for example, because this is more closer to the way the fast food services and businesses work than the restaurants. If you have your country here in the list somewhere, you can select it. Otherwise, I'll choose other right now. This lets you customize the system for your country. We'll choose, and we'll actually leave that name for the workstation. This is the way settings are saved here in the database, so they're recorded to that workstation. So if you have to reinstall the system, you can load directly these settings. Then about taxes, how are you going to handle the taxes? We're going to use VAT. Say that the company is VAT registered with 20% VAT, and the prices will include VAT. And we'll click next, and that's the most important part for before we go in the system. Now you can see the setup cards here, which lets you finish the customization of the system. For locations, usually you have one location. It's not like a restaurant where you have tables. So here the setup is more simple, and we can just select store and click setup, and this card will disappear. For customers, you may want to have a few customers ready, because this will let you accept orders at the same time from a few customers. While one is not finished, to finish the other one. This very rarely happens in fast food places, but still it's good to have a few customers, like 2 or 3, which if you need to do something like that, you can do it. Then items, you can import them if you have them somewhere on a CSV file and you have the names and the prices there. You can do an import, but I don't have it right now, so I'll just click the X here and it will close the cart. Users, you may need to add some users here, because usually you have multiple operators that work with the system. You want to record each sale made and attributed to the correct person, so you can track performance later on. And also the first user that you create is the owner, and it has higher permissions than everybody else, and he can have the possibility to configure the system, and you can remove these settings, these permissions for the rest of the users. I'll create the owner, and then I'll add some operator. I'll remove the passwords, but you can enter a password, and I suggest you to use number passwords, because in this case, if you have a touch screen on the workstation there, you can use directly the touch screen, and you will not need the keyboard for this case. I'll save it, and we have the owner and the operator. Close. Now I'll quickly log out just to get in with the owner. I'll get in, and now we can finish the setup. For example, the startup screen can be the touch screen. This is usually something that's used on such places. Here, these things can let you define if you have a receipt printer or something to print fiscal receipts. you can configure that device if you have it here. Right now I don't have it, but usually in such business you will need a device like that. For example, physical devices, you can just select the make that you have from the list and then the model, and you have to enter the connection properties for the serial port, or depending on the type of device, you have different connection properties. You can test the connection to see that the device actually responds using these connection properties, and you can select what kind of functions it's going to do. For example, it's going to print cash receipts or customer orders. Usually you don't need customer orders for this kind of businesses, but you may need kitchen orders. Kitchen orders usually are printed on some other printer that's on the back, where the people preparing the food can see what they need to prepare on a receipt, and you can even have multiple of these if you want. If you click that checkbox, you can see that here appears another tab, and this tab lets you configure the kitchen orders, and you can filter what kind of food or beverages you want to be printed on that printer. But this is something that is in case you have that. If you don't have it, just don't click the print kitchen orders, and this disappears. Other kinds of peripheral devices here are usually for displays. You will not need external displays. Rarely we have such displays. These are the external tool line, usually displays that are more rarely used right nowadays. I'll show you have another more suitable module that can be run if you have a real display that's attached to the system. And if you don't want to see that card, you can just click the X and it's going to disappear. Payments are the payment processor here that can handle credit cards, debit cards. These are usually external devices that you connect to the system, and you send them a request to get, for example, 10 euro or something, some amount that they process, capture the credit card, uses the amount, and then returns us the information that either the payment succeeded or not. You have to select what kind of payment processor you want. We have many here connected to different payment processing types, including one demo one, which you can use just to test how this works. They are connected to some payment type that you're going to select, usually card. And when you select this kind of payment when finishing the sale, this payment processor in this case will be automatically invoked, and it will, in this case, send information to an external device and request the payment. I'm just gonna disable it and close it. The company information, if you need it, if you are going to issue invoices or credit notes, debit notes, such information is used there. I'm just gonna close it for now. So what do we have right now? The most important module that usually is used in fast food places is the touchscreen. It gets automatically configured right now because of the selections we did. We have a single location, single customer in most cases, and we have additional ones if you want to change them. And here you have the grid, which usually houses items, but you can put other kinds of buttons too. You go to edit items in the tabs below and add or edit. And when you click, you have this option to choose what kind of button you want to add. Item is the first one, but you can add end of day reports that print fiscal reports in the end of the day for the operators, or the manager prints the detailed reports on the receipt printer and closes the shift. You can register cash here when you want to get cash out of the cash register, for example, to pay for a delivery, you can register here. Or if you don't have enough change and somebody brings in change, you can register here too. So the amounts in the physical device and the physical cash register match. Then you have other modules like empty group or dynamic items group, which lets you add something like a folder and opens another grid where you can see other items. You can have buttons for payments, to print a payment note, to make returns. Usually these are not used in fast food places. To print a duplicate can be used. This button is used if, for example, something happens and the last receipt didn't come out well. For example, the physical printer paper finished. You can change the paper and try to print the duplicate from here if it actually printed some part of it. Then these are the most important ones. I'll just add an item, but because we haven't added any items except the default one that we have already, I'll just create one really quick. For example, burger. I'll create and I'll put the price like 12. And I'll double click it to select it and add it to the grid. Now, with these buttons here on the bottom, you can also change, for example, the color of that button. So when you click it, you can choose what kind of color you want. Select here, and I'll just select this one. This way you can distinguish the buttons as you like. You can resize, click on the resize, and you can drag and drop to change the size of that button, or you can move it around and you can remove it. Or I'll remove this default item and I'll move this button up. Another thing that you can change is the grid here. By default, it's getting its size like 5 by 6. This houses 6 items or groups or any kind of buttons of the ones that I already showed you, but you can change it if you want. If you want to put more buttons, you can increase that number, or you can decrease it to make the buttons bigger and more comfortable to press. It really depends on how many items you have and what kind of screen you have, so it's gonna fit you. In edit items, I can add, for example, a group. I'll just create an empty group and I'll just name it somehow. For example, drinks. Say OK. And now when I enter it, I have one more grid here, which I can again configure, add items, and add other groups. This lets us place practically infinite amount of items on the screen, but there's usually some practical limit that unless you have hundreds and thousands of items, it becomes very hard for them to be found here. But usually on fast food joints, you have somewhere between 10 and 50 items. So it's really easy to put all of them here and to actually place them in a way that you can find them pretty easy. Down here, we have the order view too, which you can change the width of that area. And also you can change the height of the order here. So it's up to you to make it fit and make it look good for your display. The report section here will give us information once we have some operations done, sales or orders. Usually in fast food places, you don't need the order button. You can just use the finish. You're not gonna want to print a stock receipt. And here we select the payment. This is the place where if you have a card payment and you selected and configured the payment processor connected to that card payment, you would get connection with that external processor once you press OK. Because I haven't done this, when I press OK now, it will not invoke anything and it will just save the operation. If I had a printer or for cash receipts or for kitchen orders, then they would print the order too at the same time. Now, this is the most important module that actually does the sales, and usually this is the most comfortable one. There are a few other screens that are also very popular, and people use them in such places because they can offer the clients and the persons who work there more comfort and ease of use. One such module, for example, is the client screen. Here in the settings, we have a client screen, and as you can see here, it has one kind of view which shows you the order. This screen would display on a second screen if we had a second screen, and I can give you a quick preview how this works on my machine, but usually it's not going to appear on yours if you don't have a second screen. If I choose this, show on the first available other monitor, I can choose light or dark mode. I can choose the font size. And when I press save, it will show me on another screen. Now, unfortunately, I cannot switch right now to the other screen, but it shows on my second screen. So I'm just going to turn it off. Here are the settings for the screen. Here you can have a custom welcome message, custom logged out message that will appear when there's no order on the screen. And there's one more thing. This screen can actually have a completely different view, and it can display like this. In this case, you see the orders with their order numbers, and when they're preparing, they'll be in this column, and when they're ready, they'll appear in this other column. And this way, if you have a customer-facing client screen somewhere higher, they can just check out and see when their order is ready and come to pick it up when it is. Of course, you can change these logos here with some picture that you have. You can add slideshows and so on. It really depends on what kind of license you have, and it's really comfortable to let the clients see the orders and their statuses, so nobody has to shout when something is ready. The settings are here, and you can filter the kind of orders that you want to show by partners, by locations, because this database that we're creating right now, it may be shared with a few other restaurants, and you may not want to show the orders from the other restaurant in this one, so you have to distinguish them somehow, and you can do that by filtering by location or the operators. Also, you have this option, show the finished orders as sales in the last 60 minutes. What this does is, since when we create an order, typically we save it as an order, but in the fast food joints, usually you have an order which is automatically saved as a sale. So in order for this module to look for sales, you have to click this setting, and it will also look for finished sales and check out their status, if it's ready, if it's not ready, preparing, and so on. And of course, you can change the top parts where they have a label and what the status means in your language, or something that you want. They can be custom labels. These are the labels here on top. And you can have a notification when something appears or an order becomes ready, so you can get the client's attention to check out if it's their order that's ready. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. Now, one more thing is very useful for such places, and it's called kitchen display. By default, it's turned off in the retail stores, but I'll enable it from the permissions. Here in that search bar, you can search for anything in the menu, and you can just go for permissions, and you go to edit, administration, permissions. Here I'm the owner, and I'll search for kitchen display, and I'll turn it on. Then for the operator, I'm gonna turn it on too, and I'll click OK. Now, if you go here, you'll see that it's in the operations. By default, it shows nothing too interesting because there are no orders here. But we'll change something in the settings. There are many settings. We're not going to go in depth, but still, it's similar to the way the client screen works. You can filter the orders here by the operator, location, or the items. You may not want to show all the items because this is a module that's displaying a screen in the kitchen, and you may have a few of those. Some can be in the kitchen, some can be on a bar, and each place can display different kind of items. For example, you don't want the pizza to display on the bar because the people on the bar don't care about this. They care only about the items that they're supposed to prepare. So you can filter the items with this, and you can create another profile for the other place, and they can show different configurations. So in the default profile, you can check out what kind of statuses are available, which are shown on the screen, which allow you to press on a button and change them, and which are available at all. In the custom, you can also turn off some of them. The waiting and the served are always available, but you can remove some of these if you don't need them. Preparing and ready to serve are usually the ones that you want to keep in fast food joints. So I'll just leave it as it is, and we'll check out the other options. One thing that we'll need is the show finished orders as sales in the last 60 minutes. This again, the same concept like in the client screen. We want to show the finished sales because in the fast food places, you finish the sale directly, and we want the kitchen display to display it too. We're gonna save. I clicked here, so I'll just delete that profile. I don't need it. Save, and you can see that the order we did and we finished as a sale appeared here, and it's in waiting state. When we press on that button, we change the state to the next one, which is preparing, and then when I click it, it disappears because we have configured this screen to not show the ready to serve. We had the waiting, which has been displayed, the preparing, which is displayed, and ready to serve is not in the screen because we don't want to display it. It's something that we show in the kitchen. Once it's ready to serve, it goes out of the screen, and it can be displayed on another screen where somebody else can see it, or it can just be signaled on the client screen so clients can see it. So this is the third screen that's very useful for the fast food places. These are the most important ones. For fast food places, you may want to add recipes for the items. Each item, you can double click it. The fastest way to create a recipe is you go here and you can add the ingredients. I'll just show you how, if you click here, you can add, for example, I don't know, lettuce, and I'll save it and create a new one, and tomato. Save. I'll add just these two for now. It's going to be a veggie burger, very veggie burger. Click OK, and I can select how much of these I want. Now, I didn't set properly the measurement unit. It should be usually by kilograms or pounds or whatever is the weight measurement unit that you want. That's not gonna be a problem here. I can select 0.050, for example, for these two to be like 50 grams. 5. And I can save it. And this way, the system will know that next time when it tries to sell a burger and you don't have already burger, it will use this recipe to create the burger from it. Now, in order to do that automatically, I have to do one more step. And this is in the settings. I can search here and go for auto production. We have to enable this. Once enabled, the system will know to automatically get from these ingredients using a recipe that it finds. If there's no recipe, it's not going to do anything different than what it already did. But let's go to the touch screen and sell one burger. I'm just going to finish it, press OK. And now you can go here and see what happened. The burgers became 0. But the lettuce and tomato became minus 150. This is exactly what we expected, because we had 2 burgers that was sold before the recipe was ready, and then we sold a third one. Each one was using 50 grams of these 2 ingredients, and we became with a quantity of minus 150 in each one of those. So in order to bring some of that availability in, we have to do a purchase operation using some partner. We have just client here, but I'll just add some default vendor. It's good to add exact vendor that actually brings in the purchase, so you can track what are the prices that he was bringing it on, and you can calculate using the purchase operation. Later on, it can give you information about the actual cost of the items and what's your actual profit from them. I'll select these two. I'll just bring, these are supposed to be kilograms. I'll correct this now. This happens, it can be done here, and in the additional operation, I'll just add kilograms. You see the measurement unit became kilograms. Now, I'm gonna change the tomato to edit, and no, edit, kilograms, save. Now I'm gonna delete, control delete deletes the whole row, and I'll add them again. Shift and the arrows can let you select multiple items. I select them. Now they're kilograms, and now I'll just like 10 kilograms of this and 10 of these. The purchase price can be, I don't know, like 3, and tomato 2, and the sale price should be higher. We're not selling them directly, but the system will warn us if you try to leave the sale price to 0. So I'll just put something here. In this case, it's not important, but yeah, if you're purchasing something that you're selling directly, like juices and or iced tea, any kind of drinks, then you have to put a real price here that you want the customers to see. Now I'm gonna press save. Okay, I'm not going to print a stock receipt. And now if you check the items, you can see that the quantity got adjusted. It's 10 kilograms minus these 150, and it's exactly what we expect them. What else is important? You can go for the reports and you can check out all the sales, of course, here, and you can see what happened, when happened, and this is why the user is important here. You can check out who exactly sold what, when, and you can filter by user, and you can see how much each one of those operators did in sales to check out their performance. Of course, we have other sales screens, but they're not suitable that much for fast food places. The kiosk may be a nice one, but we'll cover this in another video because it's a big other module which lets you do a self checkout workstations that are specifically facing the clients, and they choose everything by themselves and either finish the sale with the payment with their card, or they're just placing an order that they later on pay on another terminal. These are the most important parts from the fast food usually joins that use. One thing that you can do to your toolbar here is you can adjust it so it will use the touchscreen, will be available here, so you can show it directly. You see, with drag and drop, I place it here and the button immediately appears. I press OK, so you can quickly open it. And the login screen, when you get in on the system, is right now this one, but you can change it to the dark one too. It's your choice. And if it's dark one, when you log out, you're going to see this. And here you log in and get in directly in the touch screen because we set it up as a startup screen. So this is the most important part. Of course, there are tons of settings and new features that we always add, and you see them in the menu, in the settings, but this is the core things that you need to get your business up and running. And then you can continue configuring it, try things out. Here in the settings, we have a whole section for the touchscreen that you can configure the whole thing, how it looks, how it behaves. But the defaults are usually working for most people, and in many cases you don't need to touch it. So this is the core part you needed to start your business. So if you like that video, press like, share it. If you have any questions about that module, leave a comment and press on the bell button to get notified when the next video comes in. Thank you. Have a good one.